Guys, I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, listen. I'm going to talk about a story that happened on Christmas Eve this past year. And this is something that flew totally under the radar with me. I'd have covered this story if I had seen it, but it still made news as of present. And it's about this woman right here. The woman you see up here, her name is Promise Marcel. God bless her. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman is a victim of domestic violence. One of the things we talk about on this channel, and they're hard topics to talk about. But there are a lot of broken people out here, whether they're male or female. This woman right here has a heck of a story to tell. Christmas Eve, this woman, after getting into an argument with her boyfriend, he wound up going off, shooting her in the head. The bullet grazed her head and went into her shoulder. Their 4-year-old son pictured up here, Jacoby Jones, killing him. Now, these all these people were shot separately. So Jacoby, he shot the woman, right? It was Promise. 4-year-old Jacoby, who died, and a 1-year-old daughter that's not shown right here. 3 people shot by a man that supposedly had loved them. What's crazier than that is the man is still alive because he tried to shoot himself too. This is what he looks like. Yeah. He's presently locked up, facing first-degree murder charges for the death of his son, Jacoby, and other charges. But what's crazy about this, and the reason why this came back in the news right now, is because the police were called 10 hours before the incident when this thing first kicked off, and the girl said she didn't feel safe and did nothing because they claimed a crime had not been committed. How many times have we seen that on here? One person calls the police during a dispute and the police do nothing because they say, hey, our hands are tied. According to the law, we can't do this, we can't do that. And the person winds up dying in the end. I'm not surprised if every major city out here has lawsuits pending against them for such stupid stuff like this. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning. This is the original story, then we'll come back and I'll show you the story of her talking about how the police did her and why this whole thing could have been avoided. Look.
According to police and family members, this is a tragic consequence of domestic violence. The mother of the 4-year-old killed is speaking out to bring awareness to domestic violence and urge victims to leave.
My son lost his life to a gun by the hands of his father.
30-year-old Mark Jones faces 8 charges, including first-degree murder, in the Christmas Eve shooting death of his 4-year-old son, Jacoby. The boy never got to open his Christmas presents.
My son off amazing. My son loved dinosaurs. He can tell you any dinosaur literally in the world. And he was full of energy. He can light up a room. He asked a lot of questions. He was just an amazing little boy.
Baltimore County Police responded to a call for a shooting around 6:35 a.m. in the unit block of Breslin Court in Rosedale. The boy's mom, Promise Marcel, says there's a history of domestic violence at the residence.
I called the police earlier, a few hours before the incident, because I had a bad feeling. They told me basically because his name was on a piece of mail, it's nothing they can do.
Police are investigating the shooting as a domestic-related assault. What started the argument that led to the shooting has not been released. Responding officers located a total of 3 victims. A 1-year-old girl had also been wounded.
She was shot. It went through her, but thank God she made it.
A bullet grazed Marcel on the head and then went into her shoulder. She says she's speaking out to bring attention to domestic violence and encourage victims to leave.
If it happened before, it will happen again. It's not worth it. No, even if you're quote-unquote lonely or you want to make your family, because some people don't grow up with moms and dads, so they want to give their kid what they didn't have, but it's not worth it.
According to police, the suspect sustained a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He's now being held here at the Baltimore County Detention Center without bail. There's a GoFundMe account set up to help with Jacoby's funeral expenses. Reporting from Towson, David Collins, WBAL TV 11 News.
Guys, that's the story of this guy, Mark Jones Jr., age 30. Now, some details, I'm gonna give you my commentary now. Some details came up, right, in this case, of how silly and broken this dude is. Childish. I want you to pay attention to this. Before he went on this shooting spree and stuff, right, he didn't live at the house. He would come over there and stay sometimes. It was her place, right? They not from Baltimore. So they had nowhere to go, you know, so he would come over there and see them. I guess, you know, because that's where they stayed or whatever. They from out of town or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, listen. He wanted to argue with her. She went in the bathroom, turned the shower on, and made the call while in the middle of the argument. She calls the police, tells them, hey, I don't feel safe. Police come, say there's nothing they can do, no crime occurred, they leave. 10 hours after that, he tries to start the argument again with her, supposedly. Things don't go the way he wants them to go. He goes outside and gets a gun and starts loading the clip in the house during the argument. Shoots her in the head, boom, then turns the gun on his daughter and his son, killing his son. After doing that, he calls who? His mama. I can't take this no more. And then shoots himself. I'm gonna tell you something. When I dated people, when I was younger, if their parents was involved in my relationship, or they was one of them mama's boys or mama's girls or whatever, they was out of there. You know what I'm saying? This dude right here got scent written all over him. I'm being honest with you, and I'm gonna leave it at that, because I'm gonna leave the rest of the story in this other article where she says to you guys, leave me a comment. There are a lot of broken people out here. There are a lot of people out here that want somebody but don't know how to hold on to somebody or handle the simple ebbs and flows of a relationship. And I think this guy's one of them, and it cost him big. He's an idiot. I feel nothing for him. Take a look at this.
A mother from Baltimore County is still dealing with the emotional and physical scars after she was shot in the head on Christmas Eve. Right now, her children's father is behind bars, charged with shooting her and wounding their 1-year-old daughter and killing their 4-year-old son.
And tonight, WJZ investigates. Mike Helgren takes a deeper look into her call for help just hours before that violence erupted, and why she believes more could have been done to save her son's life in what is our special report, Protecting Promise.
This is my baby. And even though he's not here physically, my baby here with me.
Promise Marcel keeps her son Jacoby close to her heart. More than a month after the bright, inquisitive 4-year-old was shot in their own apartment in Rosedale, Baltimore County, Promise is haunted by why it happened and believes her son would still be alive today if police had done more to get the children's father, Mark Jones Jr., to leave her apartment.
What should have happened in that situation?
What should have happened was he should have been removed from my home. If he was removed from my home, my son would be here.
About 10 hours before the shooting, Promise feared for her safety. She says Jones was upset, repeatedly trying to start a fight, so she hid in the bathroom, turned on the shower, and called 911.
There's a female who called in whispering. I'm not sure if she's in danger, but she's saying that she can't say what's going on.
When I didn't feel safe, I called the people that were supposed to help me feel safe, which is the police.
Promise says when officers arrived, they spoke to her and Jones separately. She does not believe they took her seriously.
Police came, literally was laughing, like it was a joke. Like literally was a joke.
Laughing at you.
I felt like I was just being judged automatically. And it's like, you know, that's my home, it's my kid's home. My kid's on the lease, I'm on the lease, it's my home.
She says they told her because no crime had been committed and because they saw a piece of mail addressed to Jones on her coffee table. That was enough to show he lived there, and they could not remove him from the apartment.
Well, he didn't live there, but he would come over all the time.
She tells WJZ investigates he was not on the lease. They gave her information on filing a protective order.
A piece of mail shouldn't allow my son to be gone.
And from what they told you, it was that piece of mail that just happened to be there.
Yes.
And then they couldn't do anything for kicking him out of the house.
Nothing.
What did they tell you to do? I mean,
They said I can either leave my home with my kids. I have no family in Maryland at 8-something at night with my kids, or I can get a restraining order, but it still has to be approved from the judge, or you have to go to court, and it could take a 30-day process.
Feeling she had no other option, Promise stayed. Around 6 o'clock the next morning, according to charging documents, Jones came into her bedroom and began arguing. Jacoby pleaded with him to leave. According to those documents, he then took a gun from a backpack, a gun police say was registered to him, loaded the magazine with bullets, and opened fire.
This is my story.
Police say he shot Promise in the head, shot their 1-year-old daughter Peyton in the arm, and he shot and killed Jacoby before shooting himself in the head and calling his own mother on FaceTime, telling her, "I couldn't take it anymore."
I never knew he had a weapon inside my home. That's number one. If y'all see that he is a registered carrier, can have a gun, the situation should have been taken way more serious.
Promise praised one officer who stayed with her in the hospital, providing crucial support before her family arrived. Baltimore County Police declined an interview, but told WJZ Investigates in a statement, officers responded to a verbal disturbance at the location. Both individuals resided at the location and the protective and peace order procedures were explained. Visible injuries were not observed by officers on the scene. They also referred us to comments the chief made the week after the killing.
We're focusing more on resources and looking at how we respond to the domestic violence incidents.
Our CBS News data team found domestic violence remains a major issue in Baltimore County, with 766 domestic violence-related aggravated assaults in 2023 alone. And the latest preliminary statewide report from the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence reveals 40 intimate partner homicides last year alone. Black women account for 45% of those killed, despite making up just 15% of the population, and guns were used in 60% of these killings.
how big is the problem of guns and domestic violence?
The presence of a firearm makes it 5 times more likely that a domestic violence situation turns into a homicide.
Adam Rosenberg is the executive director of LifeBridge Health Center for Hope. He says in cases like these, there are ways to get a protective order that do not involve going to the courthouse.
The survivor of domestic violence, someone looking to escape intimate partner violence, can go to a rape crisis center, a domestic violence center, a hospital, a child advocacy center, and apply for a remote protective order by video.
Rosenberg says Promise should never have been left to fend for herself.
The worry is every one of these domestic violence calls could turn into a fatality, and I think that's something that weighs on everybody's minds there. And if that's the standard that exists, that a piece of mail alleging residency is not enough to be able to at least temporarily separate parties there, then legislatively we need to look into that.
Promise laid her son to rest on January 10th, inviting WJZ to the funeral. The little boy loved dinosaurs, and there were many surrounding his tiny casket.
How would you like people to remember Jacoby?
My son was amazing. Innocent.
She now wants to pass Jacoby's Law that could assist first responders to better help victims in cases like hers. At minimum, she wants to tell her story so this never happens to another mother.
You're going to fight in his name.
And I'm not going to stop.
And Rick and Nikki, I'm in awe of her strength to be able to tell her story. It helps her to get through this. She's doing as well as can be expected. Her daughter is doing well, but she still wants to help other people so that this doesn't happen to anybody else.
So she's focused on the next steps despite this tragedy.
Very brave.
And you said that you were talking to her about some of the depression, and she said without this in front of her, sometimes she feels like she just needs to keep speaking and keep going because it's the only thing that keeps her from getting up.
It helps her to tell her story.
Heartbreaking.
Legislation, something needs to be done. Mike, thank you.